Firefly cars will not be able to use CATL's chocolate swap system. I repeat, they will not be able to use CATL's chocolate swap stations. This was confirmed by Neil CEO in a Q&A just earlier today. This is big bombshell news. He also confirmed a lot of information, and he talked about why that was the case. Now, some other information just to quickly dump this on you guys. There's going to be a 120 kilowatt hour battery pack for the 900 volt architecture for the ES8 and the ET9 and all these other NT 3.0 cars. That will come in the future. It's in development. And then some other news. Will NIO have a Firefly convertible with a where you don't have the roof? And NIO CEO simply said, well, everybody's asking about this. If more of you guys ask about this, then of course we will make it. Indicating that they will indeed make products that are suitable for the demand. If there's demand for it, they will make that product, which is very, very nice. And then there's another info drop. He talked about L3, and someone asked, will L3 come? When will L3 come? And he said it's a pending regulatory approval, etc. But right now, so far for L3 testing, NIO is the only car company, right, that has, out of the big three, that has been approved for L3 testing here in China. So, they are one of the privileged few, and of course, they will be one of the first movers when this is, of course, allowed. So this is also very, very nice news. And then someone asked, will there be more sport cars, like two-door cars and two-door coupe cars and cars like that? And he simply said, they do not currently have any plans for that or any sort of EP sports car, consumer sports car, etc. like that. They simply don't have plans for that simply because there isn't that much demand for that. So you can see right now the strategy is really about targeting the market that that's going to sell. All right, they want to sell more cars. They don't want to make cars that don't sell, no matter how crazy or how niche or how beautiful that car is. So this is very nice. And a Firefly convertible possibly coming soon. That is also very, very nice. But the big news is, of course, the bombshell info, the fact that they will not be able to use CATL swap, and they don't plan on using CATL's battery swap for Firefly cars in the future either. And this really sets a distinction between the two. And he said specifically the fact that it's because CATL's chocolate swap stations and chocolate batteries are wind cooled, air cooled, whereas NIO swap station and batteries are liquid cooled. And there's that distinction that chocolate battery swap stations don't support liquid cooled batteries, and whereas with NIO's battery swap stations, they support, of course, obviously, liquid cooled batteries, and also they regulate the amount of coolant and all that kind of stuff inside the battery to make it safer. And he actually also talked about this, and I'll have the AI clip, of course, at the end of this video. You can take a listen. And he talked about how, with liquid cooled, it's much safer and you're able to regulate this. And this was, of course, in my previous video a few days back. I talked about how NIO worth $650 because of the liquid cooled batteries. That's a huge, huge win, because for some of the other cars, like Li Auto cars, and all other EVs that can't do battery swap, the liquid cooling inside the battery packs are stuck. They're going to be there forever until you replace it or change a battery, and there's no way to check if the coolant has gone bad or the battery cells have gone bad or anything like that. It's not regulated. You don't know what's going on. Whereas with battery swap station, you're constantly getting new coolant. Coolant is being exchanged. The pressure is being relieved inside a battery pack to ensure that it's absolutely safe and up to par and ready for use. Now, this does mean this separation between CATL chocolate being air-cooled, NIO liquid-cooled, does kind of mean that NIO does win in terms of the high-end consumer, really safe battery swap market shares. Okay, so NIO is going to have total domination of that market share. When it comes to high-end cars, you want a battery that can do liquid cooling, and CATL simply isn't entering that category. So in that sense, even though they're battery swap competitors, there's a big distinction between the two. And CATL, Neil CEO said specifically, CATL's chocolate swap stations are more targeted for ride hailing and those business cars, business aspects of daily driving. So people that want a very, very cheap car that can do battery swap, and it's they don't really worry too much about safety, and they don't really care about liquid cooling, and they just want the cheaper, fastest experience they can get, then of course they can go for CATL. And CATL will probably absolutely dominate the ride hailing aspect of battery swapping, and the market share of that. CATL will dominate that, I'm sure of that, because yeah, they have so many partner cars that have already come out. And then NIO will absolutely dominate the high-end consumer when it comes to battery swap. But when it comes to building unified standard, it seems like that's we're on a divergent road, right? CATL is going for pure air-cooled, NIO is going for liquid-cooled, and it seems like we're not going to come to a unified standard down the line, and you're going to have a sort of like a duopoly, so to speak, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, duopoly with CATL and NIO both sort of really taking control of the battery swap game around the world. Now, of course, some of you guys may ask, hey, Mr. P, what happened to the Cherry car that was supposed to come out and that can do battery swaps at NIO swap stations? Well, I'm not too sure what's going on with that. We should definitely ask the CEO if we have the chance, and ask upper management what's going on with that if we have the chance. And of course, it seems for other people that have really partnered up with NIO and also partnered up with CATL, there's also that distinction. High-end consumers, you go for NIO's battery swap, and then those cheap, super cheap swap, quick swap cars, you just go for CATL's battery swap system. So it doesn't really have a really big conflict of interest, so to speak. And I think these partnerships with these other automakers, they will build like both of them, right? They'll build cars that are super cheap that can do CATL swap, and they will make cars that are luxury, high-end that can do NIO swap. So there's no like a big conflict between the two right there. So this is pretty interesting, and I'm pretty happy to hear all this great news. So definitely have a listen to this clip. It does mean that Firefly cars can only swap at 5th gen swap stations going forward and beyond. And it makes sense, because it wouldn't make sense if NIO Firefly can only swap at 5th gen, and then the next version of Firefly swaps at CATL, and then this generation of Firefly cars are sort of left in the dust. Like, it doesn't make sense. So it's very clear now that they're going just pure NIO battery swap stations. It's going to be NIO swap stations for all the liquid cooled batteries. That's really, really nice. So check out that clip. As always, subscribe, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace out.
From the back, it's because our 5th gen stations won't accept Chocolate's batteries, because Chocolate's swap stations don't have night cooling or wind cooling. It uses the established wind measurement compared to broader measurements, so that one is wind cooled while all of ours use night cooling. Our machines users also have night cooled electromagnetic blades. Night cooled blades have better safety, low temp and high temp performance. Performance is better in all aspects. We definitely won't connect to Chocolate's factory swap tests.